They went. Today we're here representing New York City police officers across this city at one of the most difficult times to be a law enforcement officer. At a time when the established Democratic Party here in the city of New York has turned their back on right and wrong, have turned against New York City police officers, have turned against the quality of life on the streets of our city, not just here in Manhattan, not just in Staten Island, but the Bronx, in Brooklyn, and Queens, where they've decided that peace on the street is not necessary. So why we're here today is because we need a strong voice. We need a voice in Congress that understands what it is to live in the neighborhood, that understands what safety means for every citizen in the city, right down into our economy, how important that is, and understands how police officers, New York City police officers, play into that equation. Now, this is not new for Nicole. She has always stood firmly with New York City police officers. She's standing with police officers when it could be a lonely spot, when a lot of our elected officials have run for the corners. The lights came on and off they scamper. Not Nicole Malliotakis. She is standing with us today. She stood with us yesterday, and we know she'll stand with us in the future because, quite frankly, we have work to do. We have to bring a city back that they let slide back. We have to get the guns off the streets. We have to change the laws that the Democrats have made that make it impossible to do the job effectively. So we're planning to turn out our members to vote because we have to, we need to, we want to, for the right candidate. So it's my honor to say we stand here with Nicole. Because quite frankly, while she's standing with us, her opponent is standing with the protesters. He's walking to that crowd, reading the signs to decide what he's going to say. When he's with police officers, he'll tell us what we want to hear, but he won't stand up for us. He certainly won't vote for us, and he won't put together that legislation that we need to do our job. As we oftentimes say, in this organization, we do not just give endorsements. The candidate earns that endorsement. Nicole Malliotakis for Congress. She has earned it over the years. We know she's earning it today. And more important, she'll make us proud tomorrow. It's my honor.
Thank you. I can't tell you how honored, how truly honored I am to have the endorsement of the largest police union that represents the greatest police officers in the entire world. President Lynch, the members, I'm really humbled by today because they are coming out against an incumbent, which you don't often see. But they're doing it because they realize this is a critical point in the history of our city, in our nation, and they need elected officials who are going to support them, who are going to have their back. There is a huge contrast between Max Rose and me. He supports Bill de Blasio's plan, close Rikers Island, build jails in our communities. I don't. I believe that we could retrofit those buildings with the money he wanted to use right where they are to make them better for those who work there and the inmates that are kept there. He supports eliminating bail. You know, we have seen what a disastrous policy this bail reform has been. how dangerous it has been for the people of this city, and how it releases individuals with lengthy criminal histories. I've spent the last year fighting the governor and the very Democrats that put it in place. We finally, after a 7-month battle for common sense, got them to restore homicide, manslaughter, strangulation, felony drug charges back onto the list in which a judge can use their discretion. Think about that. That took a battle. Max Rose voted with Pelosi and the squad to release convicted felons from our prisons. We saw what a disastrous that policy was here in New York, yet our New York City delegation in Washington is looking to make it a federal policy. He supports Bill de Blasio's sanctuary cities. When I ran for mayor, making that one of my very top priorities and pushing back on the mayor and even getting some results, getting him to at least comply with federal detainer requests for those who commit sex crimes. That's the difference. And that's the choice that people of Staten Island and Brooklyn have in this election. Do they want someone who's going to stand with Bill de Blasio on these issues? Or do they want someone who's going to stand with the men and women of the NYPD who put their lives on the line to keep us safe? That's what's before the people of Staten Island and Brooklyn. And it's critically important for the entire city that we have one voice that opposes these policies. Because everyone in the delegation keeps moving more and more to the left to embrace these policies and the radical left. And I will be the one that stands up against these policies and the rest of the congressional delegation. Thank you very much. I appreciate the endorsement, and I won't let you down.
Any questions?
I have an on-topic question for you. You were talking about, or Mr. Lynch, you were talking about the need to get guns off the streets. However, data suggests that gun arrests have been plummeting since prior to the pandemic, prior to the protests. How do you reconcile that?
The process in disrespecting police officers, passing the laws and procedures that make it impossible to do our job didn't start yesterday. A lot of folks want to focus on one law or one process that's changed. This has been going on for months and months now. It's impossible for a police officer to safely place anyone under arrest if you can't touch them from their neck to their belt. You can only touch their arms and their legs. Now, if you've ever been in a fight, add to that the violence a criminal does. They want to escape. They don't want to go to jail. It's impossible to safely place them under arrest for the police officer and for the criminal. So people are looking and saying, well, numbers are down. The second part is, what's the message coming from police headquarters? Or what's coming from around the corner at City Hall? At your pressers, what do they say? Hey, look, we've brought the numbers of arrests down. We've stopped quality of life enforcement. We don't give out these summonses anymore. It's all about saying, have a conversation, be good, don't do it again. So the message is, do you want arrest, quality of life enforcement and summonses, or do you want a conversation? We don't set the policy. We just abide by that policy, and that policy comes from behind us and City Hall. So there's not one issue that's created this. There's a number of issues.
I'm not talking about the quality of life policy. I'm talking about gun arrests specifically. And the data shows that the arrests for gun violence was down prior to the pandemic.
So a follow-up question to that is, who would be the most violent in trying to stop them? Someone that's carrying a gun, that doesn't want to go to jail, and know it's impossible for a police officer to effectively place them under arrest? Again, it's not one issue. There's a multitude of issues. City Hall doesn't want that. They want to stand on both sides of the barrier and say there's no arrests, but when asked why is gun violence up, well, we don't know. They most certainly do know. They're stopping us from doing the job. rather than with stop, question, and frisk, rather than fix the problem of quotas, which they put on us, they demonize the whole process. So, if you have a gun, and we have our suspicion,
So
can't
is it-
stop, stand question, can't frisk.
So, just so I understand it,
Sure.
so is there a slowdown then?
There's not a slowdown. We are following the instructions of the leadership in City Hall wants. No enforcement. Pass the laws so it's not done, so they can tout how few arrests, how many people they've let out of jail. Well, think about this. Our opponents like to say everyone in Rikers is innocent. Maybe there's some. Most are guilty, but they're there for a reason, to get to trial. They've opened the doors, they've let them out. The numbers are below World War II. That defies common sense. So again, there's a number of issues. It's parole, it's emptying the jails, it's stop, question, sometimes frisk, it's changing the laws, but more importantly, it's the message from City Hall that says, don't do it. Because if you do it, and it doesn't go perfect, you're losing your livelihood, you're going to jail.
And if the folks that are doing this are not arrested, how are you sure that these are the same people who may have been released from Rikers if they're not in custody right now? How do you know that?
You're not going to know that, but what you do know is shooting numbers are back to 1993. There's something wrong, and it's in the short term. The city has slid in a 3-month period. After all that work of bringing the city back, a good conversation, a good strong talking to doesn't work. We need to make the laws that we can do our job effectively and we can bring the city back once again. We've done it before. Yes, sir.
Can you comment about now the shifting of the shifts?
I can't hear, I'm sorry.
The weekend, now moving more police to the weekends and the shifts. Do you have a comment?
Well, that's an effect of not having enough staffing. We've canceled 2 classes to the academy. We've lost over 1,000 people to retirement. There's more and more at the pension section as we speak putting in their papers. We just can't keep up. Add to that the change of the laws, add to that City Hall holding us back from doing our job, means we don't have enough feet in the boots on the street. It's as simple as that. So what are they doing now? They're trying everything they can to shift folks around to have the proper staffing, except focus on the real problem. Support the police, give them what they need, and allow us to do the job. Thank you, everyone.